Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to our tiebreaker week of the MCOM Platinum Circuit. My name's Jacob, and today I'll be taking you through the show with what's her name? What's her name, Cash?
This is Lola. I'm Lola.
Oh,
nice
Lola.
to meet you all. Yeah.
Get out of here! Get out of here! Get out of here! Okay, what up, guys?
Throw the cat.
I tricked you. It was actually me, guys. Quicksand. Sorry about the nasty prank. I hope none of you got a bit too offended by that. Oh, Casual, you're here. What?
Yeah, no, yeah, I just arrived. So I'm one. What are they called in Harry Potter? Like those animorphs or whatever? Yeah, this disclosure. That's what I am. So
Oh,
I
you
was
transfigured.
the cat.
You're like a
Yeah. And now I'm me. Yeah. So that's how that works. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, look, we're both wearing beanies today.
Cool. I can't actually see you, but I believe you. I don't think you're lying to me. Yeah. Cool. Nice.
Okay. Anyways, out of the way. What's up? Okay. Welcome back, everybody. As I said, it is the tiebreaker week for our MCOM Platinum Circuit, so we got a whole lot of drama going on. Now, what we're going to witness today is a series of two best of ones. The first series, two teams will battle it out, do some crazy stuff, and then the team that wins will move on to challenge our higher seeded team to get a placement in our playoffs.
Yes, indeed. So we've got JADE Dragons coming up against the REVOLT Wyverns. First up, Quicksand, and the winner of this game will go on to verse Balhai. I believe the reason for that is that Balhai finished further up from them in needing the tiebreaker, so they're kind of like the king at the end of the hill, if you will. So these guys have got to battle it out. It is only a best of one, like you mentioned too, so all to play for on this game. No time to, come back after a serious loss or to learn things on the fly. You've kind of got to really adapt very quickly, because you only get the one shot, the one chance to make it into what will be a very, very exciting end of our tournament. So all to play for tonight, and team's very, very close to being ready to get into draft, so I'm ready to just get in. It's cold. I need to warm up, I need to get in here, see some awesome action, warm myself up on a very cold night in Melbourne, and yeah, I'm very excited for these two teams. I don't think they've versed each other yet.
They have. I think
Maybe
the cast
they
have
have
been playing against each other, so...
Yeah, all right, let's have a look, because I'd love to, as teams are getting ready into draft, actually have a look about how that went, because I feel like that'll provide a lot of context, you know what I mean, to like how they'll actually show up tonight. The only thing I think of, if it was round one, Quicksand, a lot of time has passed. I kind of don't even acknowledge round one anymore. These teams have adapted. The coaches have flamed them all. They're all different players at this stage. so you carry on and let me have a look here. I'll just have a look.
Okay, well, there's one thing that I absolutely must remind everybody of, and Blazem was sitting in the call with me saying, Oscar, you have to say this. If you don't say this, you're never casting again with MCOM. He actually said those exact words in my ear. So apparently, we're doing an Adam. We're doing an Adam, all draft, all mid. So it's a tournament draft ARAM map. So do that. Everyone, please, if you're interested in doing a tournament draft ARAM, it'll give some of our casters who don't have much practice a chance to do a bit of a dilly-dally on the rift and give some of you guys a great chance to have some fun. If you're interested, it's Saturday at 6 p.m. That's 6...
This Saturday.
Or for Europeans, 6 p.m. in 24-hour time. And yeah, check it out in the announcement channel if anyone's interested. Bang! That's it. That's the important announcement.
Cool. All right, throw that to the side. Teams are ready to get into draft. We are very, very close. We've slammed a little after production. We're getting ready. I'm excited for this best of one. Now, context. I talked about it. I'm a fan of context. I love it.
Oh yeah, I love context.
Gives us a lot of juice in life. And as we head into draft and see what these teams are going to end up banning in their first phase, it was actually Wyverns who fell short. So this was week 4. So people who've been following the Irons Plat tournament so far may know that I did a bit of predictions in my early weeks of hosting and things like that alongside you. And I was pretty good at it. I was 100% win rate, and I gave up probably because I was scared that the predictions got a lot harder in the later weeks. So I kind of just stopped. So now I can still say I have 100% win rate when really it would be like 33, just like my ranked actually, if I was to continue. However, I believe in this round 4, I did predict that there would be only 2 3-game sets, one of them being Cavalry Storm Rules, which actually did go to 3 games, and then Wyverns, JADE Dragons. That's because these teams just match each other to and fro, to be honest, Quicksand. Like, they are very, very close. It's sometimes in tiebreakers, I feel like it's very much just one team ready to just stomp and, just absolutely wash the other team away, because that's just how the brackets kind of turned out. But our admins have done an amazing job of actually positioning teams that are very, very close to each other in terms of skill level, and that's what we're going to see tonight. And given that it did go to 3 games, I feel like that's the evidence for us to know that these games are going to be really, really back and forth and going to match each other at each step as they battle it out on the Rift.
That's right, our first round of bans have just come through, and it's going to be a Vayne being taken out, surprisingly, as first pick comes through with Draven for Wogan IRL. I gotta say, I am a fan of the Draven. I love watching Draven in lane. I wish I could say I love playing Draven in lane, but I suck too much to use him, as Ezreal may just be the counter pick. Casual, I mean, I know you're not an ADC player, but I know Draven, he goes, ha, 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 and he like runs you with the axes. So Ezreal's a good pick because he goes like, whoop, and he runs away, right?
That was amazing, analyst. I feel like I have nothing else to analyze from what you've just said. So stop trying to steal my job is the first point. The second point I'll make is, well, you know, I don't play a lot of ADC, but it is my second role technically. And I do, when I am autofill, just pick the Ezreal into anything that's all in. And Draven is just the quintessential all-in champion. Probably trumped by something like a Samira, who actually needs to be the engaged tool. Draven has the luxury of still remaining like an AD carry and actually sort of, you know, kiting and moving around fights with a lot of move speed. However, he still needs to move forward, like you said, and Ezreal loves moving back. And they've actually matched the Ezreal with something that does the exact same thing, which is the Anivia. All about crowd control, all about zoning out enemies. So far with the first pick Draven, I mean, it does make sense maybe if you're Han Summer, because you know that your team will be able to adapt draft to get you into the game, because it is a champion Draven that can be counterpicked really heavily.
GG.
Interesting. Okay, Aurelion Sol, I like it. So they're kind of matching early game for scaling. I'm seeing two very different ideologies about how they want to play this game out for JD. The other thing to note in terms of the bans was Daenerys' Viego being taken away. He absolutely loves this Viego. I think it's probably his strongest pick that he's pulled out in comp so far. Hasn't got it a lot this tournament, I might add, so it makes sense that the ban does come through, and they're going to leave his pick open as well. He is that carry jungler even without the Viego, so they're going to blind top it instead with the Mordekaiser. More damage. I think a tank might have been nicer here to give peel towards your mainstay damage carries in the Aurelion Sol and the Draven, but maybe they're cooking up something. Maybe they're in the kitchen quick, you know, you can never be too much to call, but there's that Gangplank, right? We were hearing in production something about Slemp Dragon's Gangplank. Apparently it's pretty good.
Well, I heard it was going to be permabanned all 3 games, but
yeah, that's right. No, and now it's through. So there you go. So maybe whoever told us that had something in the back of their ear telling them that they knew that if it was open that it would absolutely be taken for him. So now comfort on the side of Revolt, they can be really happy with. Dioku is not someone who often plays something like an Anivia, but it's one of those champions, a bit like an Ezreal. If you're auto-filled, you usually can play it. Limited skill shots. Pretty easy once you hit that level 6 spike in terms of controlling your macro with waves, because you just want to auto push every wave. If there's not much thinking to go on, you don't need to find flanks like an assassin or anything. So I feel like he can still really perform on this pick, even though it's not his comfort, but may need to rely on his top laner, who's now got his signature pick, to maybe carry them through towards those team fights, because GP is, as we all know, incredibly valuable in those late game team fights.
Wait, but Casual, correct me if I'm wrong. I may not be the draft, what's a word that starts with D that's like a boss of something? The draft demon? The draft
draft demon, the only D word in my head is dick, and I don't know why. Yeah. So okay, that doesn't work.
I may not be the draft expert, let's just go with that.
Sure,
but
yeah.
Choosing a top laner, I mean, Mordekaiser literally got instantly countered by Gangplank. I wouldn't be surprised for it to be a Gangplank top here, especially because the Anivia is locked in. So yeah. Mordekaiser getting locked in as a third pick isn't something that you normally see happen, right? You want to try and hold it off. They would have had the chance to ban the Gangplank. Is this a drafting issue, or could they be saving something even more crazy up their sleeves, like choosing, I don't know, like a Morgana support or something? Like, oh wait, no, she got banned. That's a bit awkward.
Maybe, but yeah, you could go Morgana on 3. The issue is that again, you're just leaving open another free counter as well. Morgana is usually something that you pick later in a draft instead of earlier to match with the Draven, and the Draven Morgana lane isn't something that's necessarily as potent as say like a Nautilus. I think picking top here was the right call for Jade Dragons. I just feel like the Mordekaiser's odd, especially knowing that the enemy top has pretty much the perfect pick into Mordekaiser with that vitamin C. Loving Pirate, he easily counters the Dark Realm or whatever it's called from Mordekaiser. So he'll be sitting pretty in the top lane, but it's not really just all about top, right? Is Blitzcrank going to be the answer into the Vi as well? I really like Vi, actually, as the answer into Draven and the Aurelion Sol as well. So any ability for them to get out of fights is now completely neutered. My only issue with Vi in their comp is they all want to play back. Even Gangplank wants to actually sort of space with his barrels and move forward. So Vi's kind of the only one jumping in. So hopefully they match a support that actually wants to go in. But Blitzcrank Wukong, work really nicely for me, Quicksand, to be honest. Wukong Vi, something we see it 1,000 times. Pretty neutral. You're basically just matching jungler for jungler, power farmer, ganker. Maybe the only thing to note is that Vi can gank a lot earlier than Wukong. Wukong wants to permafarm until he gets the level 6 ability and is able to knock people up and is much, much more potent when he enters the lane. However, Vi can gank earlier. That makes more sense. Someone to join in with the Vi. So I like how both teams have really rounded out their comps, Quicksand. To be honest, what are your thoughts?
Oh, man, look, I'm really liking how both of the compositions go. I think the biggest thing to point out is Draven Blitzcrank, right? Because I think Blitzcrank is the kind of support that when you're behind, he's completely useless because all he does is pull the enemy who's stronger than you into you. But when I'm ahead, when I'm playing against a Blitzcrank and the enemy lane is ahead, he runs up to you, punches you, and then hooks you in to the point where you can't move at all. And then Draven comes and shuts you down by dashing at you. If we see Draven and Blitzcrank get ahead in the bot lane, then it is going to be an awful lane for Ezreal because he has to dash away from Draven and from Blitzcrank. So there's two enemies and two types of poke that he has to watch out for. I think it's a really tough lane for the Ezreal Nautilus, but the Naut kind of is the saving grace of the lane. Besides that, mid lane, Aurelion Sol, I actually don't know how this matchup goes. I don't see Anivia enough. I just know Asol is really strong.
Yeah, and he still is, despite being targeted by a whole bunch of nerfs in the patches that have come so far, right? Like, Aurelion Sol, a long time after his rework, was kind of untouched. It felt like Riot just wanted him to be strong because he'd been so weak for so long. Made sense to me. Even with nerfs, he's still a really decent pick. Caps picking it last night into Gens G as well. So, if you don't tell me that it's not strong when we've got, such an important game for G2, they're prioritizing it as well. Still absolutely something that's staple in the meta. As far as the matchup into Anivia, it's just matching scaling for scaling, to be honest. That's all you're doing. Both champions don't want to interact early. If anything, depending on the rune choice from Anivia, she has slightly more ability to trade HP in a more favorable way against the Aurelion Sol, just due to that extended range on her auto attacks and also that E as well. Whereas Aurelion Sol is really limited by range until he's able to freely move forward in a fight because he gets so tanky due to that Rally's rush. As far as the bot lane, I really like what both teams want to do. I like the fact that they've picked a support alongside Draven that wants to move forward because this Ezreal can have a really easy time in this lane. And that's if he buffers the Blitzcrank hook with his phase shift, right? If he's able to use the arcane shift to actually stop himself from being hooked, make space, that's totally fine. However, if Rekree manages to put a lot of pressure on Ezreal to keep doing that, as soon as that E cooldown's down, then it's just Draven's lane. Morgan gets to do whatever he wants, and it is an incredibly long cooldown, especially in the early game. So Ezreal, even though he can buffer the ability, needs to really manage how he wants to address this lane, because one pressure off one ability, and then suddenly he needs to give up potentially what might be a lot, including plates. Depends on how Daenerys wants to go. The only saving grace, I think, for Revolt is that their jungle's going to be a lot more active on the map than, say, JADE Dragons is. That's probably the only thing I see that may affect this bot lane. However, the 2v2 is pretty flipping and can go both ways. It's just up to execution.
Completely agreed. So, predictions going off, Casual. What do you think?
Okay. Game one. Jesus. All right. I'm probably going to... Oh, it's really hard. You know what? I'm actually just going to back Revolt's top laner and my old mate Dioku as well. I'm going to say that Revolt Wyverns are going to take this game and versus Balhai next.
Yeah,
what do you
reckon? The same boat as you. It's got to be Revolt, just a Gangplank and a Mordekaiser. Even though Draven feels like he might have the advantage in lane, Ezreal can escape using that phase shift appropriately, puts them well ahead. Now, the last thing is to make sure you put your points in the prediction, okay?
Get those points
I'm looking at you. I know you. I didn't see you put any points in. Go on. Put all of them in. Predict for your team. There's a chance to make a little bit of money, all right? Now, we're going to go to a break, and I expect to see the point count add up a little bit higher than it is now, okay?
Yeah.
We're going to a break. I'll see you guys on the other side.
See you then.
Welcome one, and welcome all to the most nail-biting, death-defying, seat-falling-offing experience of your life. That's right, it's the MCOM Platinum Tournament TIEBREAKERS. Right now, a cheeky little walk up into these bushes right now is it's going to be best of ones throughout the night. We'll see two of them. Right now, it's Jade's Dragons playing up against the Revolt Wyverns. Whoever wins this one will be moving on to play another game up against, I was really struggling with this one, Balhai.
All right, you may not have more time for your interview because Rekree might be in a bit of trouble.
Oh, no.
Hey. Okay, decent. I like what Revolt were thinking there, making sure that they were hugging the wall. The only thing that probably goes slightly pair, and I mean it's a positive trade regardless because they get Blitzcrank's flash, right? But usually if you want to make that invade, you want at least one member to take sweeper. Usually it is the jungler, just saves them from having to ward as well. And even if someone flashes away and you don't get the kill, it's usually the support's job, Lightless in this case, to walk up and deep ward anyway. So you still get the advantage of having information on jungle tracking. Jungle doesn't have to reset if you're Daenerys as well, which means you might be late to your camps. And overall, it's a cleaner invade. However, still getting the flash despite being a bit scuffed is a great start for a Revolt.
Absolutely. And I think Eyes... Well, actually, where will Eyes be? Probably starting in this bot lane, seeing how this Draven and Blitzcrank would like to start off. The level 1 and the level 2 will be some of the most important levels in the game, as Wogan needs to do a really good job of keeping Ezreal off the wave, denying him experience, and trying to shut him down before he gets ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see what Morgan's already thinking as well, is that he knows the pressure from his support, despite not even having flash, is immense enough for him to just constantly be pushing this wave and auto-attacking it. We see Slem trying to get his first strike proc of the passive. Got to be a bit careful about the Mord's passive himself. I mean, he does have Corrupting Pot, so usually it's fine, but we're in an interesting situation in the top lane these days, Quicksand, where often the D-Shield and the Pot, plus like the second Wind Rune in the Resolve tree, is often more regen than a Corrupting Pot. So it's kind of not how it should work, but that's usually the case anyway. And of course, you're sort of like losing stats as well, taking the pot as well. Pretty stock standard for GP though. Not about to tell Slim how to play GP. You know, he's very proficient on it, and it is something that, you know, as our producer was telling us, people have been scared of so far in the tournament. So bit of pressure on him, I think, as well. Sometimes when you do get your, you know, you can't see me, but I'm doing air quotes right now, your one trick. Right? Like, it's hard, you know, to kind of live up to some of those expectations. But really, in a game like this, the pressure can kind of be relieved a little bit. He's only got one job, which is to live into the Mordekaiser and to scale for team fights. I can't emphasize enough how much the scaling... Oh, hold on.
Okay, an early gank here from Daenerys means that Silent Dragon, the pressure he's had in lane, may just have to whittle down as Mordekaiser now has the health advantage.
Yeah, no, pretty decent. I like what Daenerys was thinking. He did have to call off the play, unfortunately, just due to Mordekaiser being pushed in back towards his turret means he can't really join in on the fight. Speaking of fights...
Okay, Out West wants to make the same play. A great Anivia wall, but Out West wasn't on the same page. In the Abyss may still just go down here as first blood into Juko's hands.
Damn, you love to see that, actually. So Out West decides, okay, he flashed, that's fine, that's all I wanted. Doku's like, nah, stuff that, I'm going in. Beautiful flash W as well to make sure that he not only kind of blocks him off from toe, but actually bumps him back. So it's a really particular micro mechanic with the Frostbird that if you're actually able to hit someone, it does slightly knock them back. It's nothing crazy, but it can sort of stop pathing if someone's already clicking forward. That's exactly what happens, causes that in the Abyss actually force that one. Oh, decent
great hook. No phase rush, sorry, phase shift to get away, as Pretorius is going to get shafted down to half health. They know that Out West is nearby, and it's going to be a lot of ganking from this Vibe, picking up an assist, but unfortunately that second part of the game will not be coming in as a DC from Daenerys comes in mid-gank.
Yeah, good to sort of dissect kind of how wrong I was, I guess, in Draft Quicksand. Apologies, because I really thought both these junglers would not really be as proactive and as aggressive as they've been. I think maybe I'm still stuck in watching the Sundays games where Interplat's a different beast, isn't it? It is constantly just go, 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 fight, fight, fight. Lane is very rarely respecting, and what it means is that it's really up to Out West and Daenerys to really take advantage of that. You know, they've both burned flashes. Out West maybe, you know, he's done a deep, better gank mid because he's able to actually flash, but that was just due to the interaction between Mord and GP in this early game, that it was a decent angle that the Wukong found, but obviously Mord wasn't able to join in, and that's why, however, Dioko with a really, really decent wave state does find the kill, and so nothing crazy happening to the gold lead so far, but it's great to see that both junglers are willing to be aggressive and actually put the pressure on both sides.
Now, Pretentious, if we just take a quick scope into this battle scenario, Pretentious just used phase shift, no flash, and it looks like, okay, all right, nothing exciting is going to happen, but we've gently slid our way back into the game right now after it's now been shown that Pretentious can be hit by these hooks.
Yeah, exactly right, and this is the trouble that I was talking about as well. When it comes into actually using that Ezreal E, as soon as you've done it, as soon as you've used that such important ability, you're cooked. You have to wait so long to be able to actually react and do anything sort of post that fact. which is probably the scariest point, I think, for Revolt in this bot lane, because a Draven fed, a Draven free farmed, if Worgen does find that kill before he inevitably falls, I mean, that's going to be such a huge gold swing if and when it happens.
Besides that, the gold is staying pretty even across the board, besides a slight gold advantage due to getting that kill in the mid lane. Now, whether or not Juco gets a big advantage in lane here, I can't confirm, but it looks like Juco certainly knows what he's doing, especially with those micro mechanics on the wall, as you mentioned earlier, Casual.
Oh, hold on, they want to pressure even more. I mean, stun does land, but they still have plenty of CC to back it up. No flash.
Oh, in the Abyss up too far. No way the hook misses. Biggest hitbox on the planet, still missed. With the wall coming up in the Abyss, there is nowhere to go but to your grave. Juco picks up 2.
Geez, again, and it's really unfortunate that it's pretty much just the case of this wave just not being where In the Abyss needs it to be. I mean, he's not even really outplaying these ganks in any sort of crazy way. It's kind of just the stuff up mechanically on Revolt, not landing hooks, having to burn flashes if they need to. That play just works because he was so far extended, because there's just no control in this early game for him. I mean, CS state is even, but if you're not controlling your wave, you're going to fall down in kills if pressure is laid onto you. That's exactly what happens, and now he's going to sit 0-2 in this lane with Daiuku sitting real pretty at the moment.
And look at the damage that Wogan gets on a single auto attack that lands on top of Pretentious, who's now running low on mana with the wave shoved. It may just give Wogan here the chance to push up wave and get priority for this dragon. It has been up for a little while now, but neither jungler has actually made a move onto it. Right now, Daenerys is sitting in his his top side blue jungle, and not making a move towards the dragon, perhaps realizing he doesn't have enough pressure to do so. While Juco, who now does have an advantage, 2 kills up, will be backing, and it looks like this dragon isn't an objective that may be being picked up just yet.
Yeah, I don't think it's been able to be contested at all by blue side. It's whether Revolt actually think that they can take it themselves. I don't see any way that it can actually get in. I mean, TP is not available for either top lane because we're not at 14 minutes. This Wukong is so incredibly far behind, finally realizing he needs to CS a little bit of his jungle to actually get that level 6. Vi not interested, just want to keep this early game snowballing kind of going for them, and they know that they are really early game so far. Yes, there is scaling on someone like the Aurelion Sol, but for the most part, they're looking to win this mid game, and if they do lose dragons, if they do go down slightly in CS, it's not really a problem for Revolt more than it is for Jade Dragon. So great that they do actually recognize they have the priority to take that. Herald not spawned, so the closest thing they can get to some sort of counter answer is the red buff. I like to see this actually, not something I'll see often when I'm watching Irons at Plat games, is trading something. It's a really good point for anyone in chat as well, thinking about, you know, how can I win games? The best way to do it is to not consider every player lost, right? You know, there's always something you can trade. It might not be a positive trade, but at least it's something. So Jade Dragons have a slight answer. However, it's definitely Revolt in the driver's seat as of right now.
Revolt with some smooth sailing right now, as we probably are going to keep our eyes towards the bot lane here, where Draven has had a chance to stay in lane just a little bit longer than Pretentious. With the wave shoved now and a little bit more XP, it is going to look towards the back here, as Daenerys now may be able to shut off Silent Dragon here, who wants to escape the cannon barrage flying down from the sky, as Daenerys might actually fall victim to Gangplank before the kill goes down. Hemophiliac chasing! Hemophiliac finding as Slem's dragon is going to go down.
Man, the crucial thing there was, I don't know if Slep... Oh, hold on. No,
we may just be able to get a shutdown here on the Anivia. Has a revive available. Wogan getting blocked up by the wall, forced to flash over. And Aurelion Sol looks like he wants to kill. The egg now coming down. Who are they going to hand it over to? And it looks like Wogan is going to be the one to try and pick up the kill here. Oh, okay, there we go. The E cutting them out with the 150 gold shutdown and almost $500 to the name of this Draven.
Jeez, that is crazy. It's almost 900 really. So he not only gets his passive, but about 500 because Anivia had a shutdown. Probably the worst person on the side of Revolt that Walken could get that first kill off of. Happens for them, and now they're sitting, and like, look at the gold swing already, straight to 1k. We were looking at pretty even. You know, nothing's over completely just yet, but however, that is such a fantastic win for the side of Jade Dragons. The one thing I want to point out in the top lane matchup was, I'm pretty curious as to why Slemp Dragon decided to eat his orange at the point that he did. Maybe it was for a Sheen proc. Maybe he didn't expect for Daenerys to fall so low on the Wukong before he could kill him. But as soon as GP used that ability, that's when Hemophiliac used his. And then once that ult was gone through, he was stuck in the realm, and he was just dead from that point on. So really well played by the Mordekaiser. However, could have overstepped here.
No way. Dragon should get a solo bowler here. Flashes forward, needs another gun proc, and there it is. That is an incredible play with the barrels. It just caught Hemophiliac a bit off guard, and look at the damage that a Gangplank can deal.
Yeah, incredible play, incredible caster curse by me. I really thought I was over the caster curse, but as soon as I started praising Hemophiliac, he stuffs up. Unfortunate for him, just an overstep really into GP, not really understanding that he is a champion that can chase you down. Usually will poke you down in lane, but if you do overstep even slightly, especially with the first strike as well, plenty of damage, plenty of burn. Coming from, doesn't even need to turn and burn him really more than he needs to just dump all his DPS and does take the kill. So winning top side for Revolt's really important just because of what happened to Wukong, but here's an invade.
That's a crazy hook from Lightless. Barely hitting Daenerys, just forced to dash over the wall, and Guess is on the other side. Pretentious ready to cut off this Wukong. No room to dash, no way to run, and Lightless's Ignite is going to be what takes down Daenerys.
Jesus, I'm not too sure what Wukong was thinking there. He's kind of invaded onto the Wolves for red side without any priority in the bot lane. Means that Ezreal and Nort can just walk up. I think even Draven was on reset, so Worgen not even on the map, and we're still choosing to try and take that buff. Just bad, you know, not great jungle tracking from there. I don't think Daenerys would have gone for that play knowing that they could collapse on him. Unfortunately, they do. Great awareness coming out from Pretentious and Lightless. Pick up the kill. Not amazing that it went on to Nautilus, but quickly, you know, after what was a really scary play in the mid lane that brought the gold lead back to just slightly in front, this game really is even.
And it's important to point out as well, we've seen the Rift Herald being picked up by the Vi here, who may start to look going down in the mid lane. A big hook down on Pretentious, and now Whirling Death finishes them off. No pick coming down on Lightless.
Yeah, so that time not a whole lot of passive gold, however, still really decent. More fight in the mid lane.
Shadow Realm down to Juko, who has the tower to back them up as Hemophiliac has the support of his teammates. Cannon Barrage comes down from the sky as well. Hemophiliac up a bit too far. Great wall comes down as Daenerys is the first victim of Out West, who wants to turn this around, but you can see how powerful that Aurelion Sol is. And with Blitzcrank coming to back them up, that fight is going to just do nothing but die out.
Jeez, these guys are really keen for the ARAM tournament on Saturday because we've got suddenly 5 members apiece in the mid lane. Really interesting play. I think Daenerys again is just overstepping his mark. No need to jump in there when you've just had to burn your ultimate up off that invade where he fell. So not any ability to actually stop members from just attacking him when he goes for the dive. Really overstepped as well in the case of his mid laner who isn't able to follow him. It's not really what Aurelion Sol does. So disjointed and dismembered means that Revolt can kind of capitalize on their ability to CC lockdown and just picks up yet another kill. I mean, Ezreal just off his play from dying wasn't able to be on the map, so it definitely was Revolt's turn to be aggressive. And the answer from JADE probably was just to get out. I mean, they're not really respecting that their member, their strongest member, I should say, is Worgen right now on his signature pick. I mean, this Draven is who you need to play around. Maybe they can with the Dragon just spawning too. It is a really important Drake when it comes to the mountain. Really nice to just have those padded stats when it comes to those more important team fights. Revolt are going to start it, but I think there could be a contest angle here. Wukong ultimate's up, so maybe that changes the fight.
Yeah, really important to point out here, no flash from Wogan as well. It might come back up during the fight, but if it starts this soon, there may be no way out. The Cyclone coming out from Wukong, spinning like a laundromat. He's going to get out of the fight. Westat forced to flash out of the fight. The wall up as Brefty wants to chase down the Ice Bird. Morgan's on the back foot. Now he's going to get hooked down by Lightless. Rooted, taking damage. Resurrection will come through as Referee's holding the front line. Down comes the Comet, the screen shakes, and Juko's going to be the first to go down in this fight. The only casualty besides the Dragon.
And the Sky's Descent was really nicely placed there from Aurelion Sol, just ending on the end of the Anivia passive. So even if Doku was able to respawn and come out of egg form, she still would have been stunned and been taken out. Completely zones Out West from the fight, who was sitting on like 110 HP as well. So really nicely played and decent contest coming out of JADE, mean they will be able to match Dragon for Dragon so far. And decent engage coming out from Daenerys as well. So finally finds that angle he's been so hungry for. Means that he can disrupt the fight long enough for Worgen to make his way into the Dragon Pit safely. Because as you mentioned, he didn't have flash. His positioning needed to be perfect there. It was. Though he doesn't get a kill, he gets some really nice stats for his team and brings himself right into a game that's been looking scary early on.
And it's really important to point out right now, not only did we just see turret plating fall. Oh, hold on him. I feel like up a bit too far. The cannon barrage is enough in the Shadow Realm, and it doesn't escape the rain of bullets coming down from Slamp Dragon, who picks up another solo kill despite everyone starting to pick up their first items across the board. The Rylai's wasn't enough to challenge the Essence Reaver. Daenerys wants to get the shutdown on the Gangplank. He has slightly faster pace. Daenerys will get the shutdown. Has West out on the back of his foot.
Is any
200 gold extra on this kill. Oh, and there comes the cease and desist as Daenerys needs to make a break for it. Waiting to use that clone at just the right time, and out west, there's no way this kill is going down, right? Clone dashes out. There we go. Daenerys gets out safe and sound.
Jeez, incredibly lucky timing coming out from the Wukong clone. I think if he wasn't able to just increase that distance slightly, I was absolutely in range to make sure that the final bit of that passive proc went down, main C falls. But yeah, just a 1-for-1 coming out from, not a 1-for-1. Oh no, yeah, it is 1-for-1. Yeah, coming out from both top laners. So I think I really like what Hemophiliac did. Yes, he did fall, but he waits quite a while to use his ultimate. You could see that he just gained that slight amount of health, and that's just the stats that he stole from GP. However, it's a real tricky game with Mordekaiser. Well, yeah, you kind of want to wait for the Shadow Realm, but not so late because you're also increasing your damage, not just your tank stats, but also your ability to DPS and actually take down a target. And knowing that Dragon was 1 or 2 HP, like, you know, just a couple of autos away, maybe would have made the difference, but not respecting that his job is to weak side into Dragon. And yeah, it's hard to weak side into something like a GP because it does scale so heavily, but due to just the case of this game, knowing that Worgen is that carry, maybe there's a bit of a fear that your AD carries your strongest member into something like a GP on someone who's proficient with the champion. I mean, we know what this Pirate does to AD carries in future seasons, patches. I mean, it's been doing that sort of one-shotty stuff for as long as I can remember, really. So the fact that Dravenstrong may not be as, you know, vital and important as Revolt see it, another fight in the bot lane.
Oh, in the Abyss, that's a really interesting gank into the lane, forcing Wogan to walk up a little further than he wants to, but he's going to chase down Pretentious now. We're going to get a look here towards the topside river as well, as Wogan's almost finished chasing down the Ezreal. He doesn't have the Whirling Death on hand, so he won't be able to finish him off.
Yeah, so 2 fights on opposite ends. We'll have to track back to the top lane and see what happens from here. Daiuku, decent stun.
Looking for the Mordekaiser pull, as Hemophiliac's kind of just in the thick of it. He's going to chase down. Yeah.
I don't know, it's weird. They seem scared to engage. Certainly not in the bot lane where that fight just goes completely on the side of Jade Dragons. Yeah, they don't really get a kill or much else off it, but both flashes off the bot lane is totally fine. One thing I am noticing is when they do fight in the bot lane, they're lacking serious damage at this stage of the game. I mean, they haven't picked Lightless Nautilus to win this 2v2 with the Ezreal. They picked it so someone else can engage in with the Vi, so Out West doesn't get one shot. So I don't know why plays are being made in the bot side for Revolt. Another hook lands.
Great hook. And then using that phase shift to get over the wall as well. Pretentious going to get smited. Has a wall to keep him alive. The Ignite, it's not enough. As Zuko gets down to Daenerys. Hemophiliac, the wall comes down just in time. As Out West stuck inside the Shadow Realm. A kill really needs to go down here before Out West gets out. The Cannon Barrage may just do too much damage from the other side of the wall. And guess who's in the fight now? Gangplank dashes over the wall. Slays the enemy support. And down goes Mordekaiser.
Jeez, that could be 2 objectives going to the side of Revolt now. I mean, Herald is up. Seems like they don't want to go for it. Maybe reset and go to the Dragon. But really interesting decision coming out of JD. I think they could absolutely have fought that. We saw Worgen on the back end of that fight just standing on the wall, like wishing and praying that his attack range would increase. When he could have just walked around the wall and started autoing. He's kind of just standing there, and because most of their gold was spectating that fight means that they do just fall. I mean, Hemophiliac was doing such an amazing job of not only knocking down Out West to very limited HP in his ultimate, but then post that in that fight, everyone was burning to this Mordekaiser passive. Definitely could have picked up a few if Worgen was able to commit. However, scared of his ability to be caught out by the opposite end means that Revolt will take 2, 3, plenty of kills, and now they're in an absolute position to take on this third Drake. It's not game ending by any means. It's not a soul point or anything like that, but would be really nice now that they're heavily in control of this game. You know, just about 2k in front. Looking really, really nice so far if they're able to sort of secure this Dragon.
And don't forget, this really is a do or die right now. Losing this single game means you'll be written out of the MCOM Iron competition from now on. Everything rides on it. It's not like, oh, we'll go next, or we can play better next game. No. Everything you take now matters. And I think that changes a lot. Daenerys wants to smite, but he can't get to the Dragon in time. Really great peel here from Lightless. And down from the skies comes a giant star. A shutdown into the hands of Draven. The support for support trade here, as Wogan might be up a little bit too far. Now the damage dealer gone. This fight is swinging into the favor of Revolt as they wipe out 3 members of Jade Dragons looking for more.
Yeah, this is my one problem with how Jade Dragons are kind of forced to fight, right? Hold on.
Oh, can Juko solo Hemophiliac? Seems like it doesn't even need to happen as Juko gets another pick down, 5, 2, and 5.
Yeah, so another pick onto this Anivia looking incredibly strong this game. What I was going to point out is I hate the way that JADE Dragons have drafted because of how fights have gone for their main carry. So the first pick, the Draven, and clearly we saw Draven be doing Draven things. 3-1 in a losing game, incredibly impressive for Worgen, decent CS lead. He is their carry at this moment, right? But every one of their champions wants to fight in a way that doesn't work for Draven. Oh, he's stuck.
Oh no, knocking his own wall. And he's still gonna get him. Yo! How does that happen? He's gonna get put down here by Daenerys. Has Nautilus to back him up. Maybe the Resurrect will come through as an egg almost respawns. Anivia now coming back to life. Doesn't even get shut down. Now Aurelian Soul picks up that kill. Oh my god! Okay, hold on. There's a lot to dissect there, Casual.
There is. So, look, I'm going to skip over the past fight. Basically, the point is that all their champions want to not peel in the way that they need to fight, and Draven needs someone to come onto him. And we saw that game as well. So they fight and engage onto the Anivia. Almost a decent pick-off. Get stuck into the ultimate passive means that Reverie does fall at the start of that, and then they just keep overextending towards the Anivia, really hungry, thirsty for blood, trying to take down Daiuku, falls into his egg. I mean, this is the beauty of the pick with the passive, and because they're all so chunked up means that Out West and Lightless, because Daiuku stalled so much time, join in the fight. Cease and desist was beautiful, knocking up both in the Abyss and Worgen as well, cancelling the Aurelian Soul DPS that was on Daiuku that would have taken him out of the egg form. Yes, he still does fall in the end. However, there was so much decent synergy coming out from Revolt when it came to how they needed to play that fight. Looking incredibly strong. I mean, I don't see how Worgen can play this game now. All it is a Vi ultimate on top of maybe just a GP ultimate. You don't even need to hit your barrels anymore. Like, they are so far ahead in terms of their ability to shut down who they need to shut down. Incredibly scary for JADE Dragons. I'm not too sure what their angle is other than just waiting for scaling out of their mid laner. But in the Abyss right now, really struggling to impact in terms of his opposition right now, because Daiuku is just taking control.
And Pretentious as well, despite being in a lane against Draven, has found really good avenues to keep himself in this game. And look at that. The gameplay damage is insane. He's forced to turn around here, but it took 3 barrels to an unaware... No, 2 barrels to an unaware Wukong, and he's almost been completely shut out of the fight. And because of that, there's no way he can contest this Baron, which is at 22 minutes being handed over to the red side.
Yeah, it's an incredibly early Baron, but it makes sense because of how much they're in the driver's seat at this point in the game. And GP does a really nice job of effectively killing Wukong, right? So it doesn't actually take him off the rift. However, so low means there's 0 contest and just confirms the Baron. I don't like that JADE Dragons allowed their jungler to walk in by himself to try and gain vision. They know they're all in the top side, and then they think that Daenerys can just go on a little, you know, dandy walk by himself. Too scary. Not when Slim Dragon's playing his GP, and not when he's this fed. There is so much burst coming out from the side. Oh, hold on. Pretentious could be in trouble here.
This may be a really good... Okay, nah, he just flashes over the wall. Hemophilia can't make it over to him. Doesn't get the pull either. And now Hemophiliac's the one in danger. A flash forward to escape the Vi. Their sieging continues mid. With that empowered cannon minion means that top side and mid side, the push is too strong for anyone to deny.
Yeah, the siege is incredibly strong, particularly on champions like Ezreal and GP, who are able to pressure so far away. Means that engage, kind of like what Mordekaiser tried to do here with the Death Realm onto the Ezreal, means he just can't do anything now. Red buff on Pretentious too. I mean, Hemophiliac's tier 2 in the top side, very soon to fall, if not right now. And then mid lane, they're able to send every other number there as well. So they don't really need anyone outside of Pretentious in the top side. You're also dragging JADE Dragon's main engage tool towards to defend that top turret. Means that you can, yeah, like they're doing now, walk straight into the bot side with Dragon spawning as well. Pretty much just confirms that. I don't see a need to prioritize this Dragon Quicksand, if I'm honest. It doesn't really do anything in terms of the game state. I mean, when will the next Dragon spawn? About 4 minutes after that? 3? I'm not too sure. Something like that. You can end the game between that time, and it's not like having one more air Drake means anything. Looks like they will prioritize it because it is just a free objective. Maybe they bait JADE Dragons into trying to contest something that's uncontestable and run it down mid right after. If a team fight does go, it's going to go. I think things are going to blow up and members will die, if not a lot of them, and it could just be all over for JADE Dragons if this doesn't go the way they need it to.
But As you can see, a very responsible decision comes out, and Wukong isn't even trying to contest the Dragon as the third one's picked up, and I think at the very least, Revolt Wyverns have more mental pressure over Jade Dragons. Having slight out-of-combat movement speed, handy. Knowing that your enemy team is at Soul Point is also a pretty pressure-inducing thing. So now that they have 3 Dragons, Revolt Wyverns are going to start pushing, using the remainder of their Baron, because they still have a chance to shut down more inhibitor turrets, and it's really just a hard game for Jade Dragons to bring themselves back into. And that brings me to what I want to ask you, Casual, is Jade Dragons. Okay, right now, they're down Dragons. You said that the game's going to end in the next couple of minutes. Okay, what exactly do they need to do if they want to manage to sneak their way back into this game?
Yeah, let me clarify. I feel like this game can end in the next couple of minutes if they take a fight. So that's the name of the game of how, if they have any chance at all, is avoiding a fight where it happens. The one thing that Revolt kind of lack is that initial engage tool outside of via Nautilus. They can't all jump forward, right? So if we're positioning further back into our base, if they do get greedy, if Revolt do overstep, you do have the damage to actually take a member out, and particularly on Worgen. So you kind of just have to backseat and just chill for the moment. It sucks. I hate being in this position because it feels like you're not really playing the game. However, due to just failing in this mid game, they don't really have a choice out of just being very careful about this Nautilus hook and the ability to be vi-ulted and just making sure, and of course those barrels as well, right? Defending as much as possible, maybe even giving an inhibitor isn't a bad option. Quicksand, more gold if they're able to not end off it, and then you just have to flip an Elder, right? Soul doesn't matter too much in the context of this game. It's not like you're forced to contest. If it was like an Infernal Soul or a Hextech, I feel like you have to contest there, because Hextech or Infernal on something like an Ezreal or a GP, yeah, it's over Red Rover, even with Elder. I don't care what you're able to do into that. So it's not the case this game. So I think they can afford to keep farming, keep stacking on this Draven. If there is a slight skirmish and Worgen is able to finish a kill, I mean, he may be really, really close to hitting that 3-4 item spike, and things can look more decent for Jade Dragons. Basically, the name of the game at this point, when you're this far behind, is just patience.
And you can see how dire the gold differences are just from the top laners' buys. We saw Mordekaiser only just being able to buy Jackshow. And despite it being an expensive item, here we go. This is what you're talking about. Pushing up a bit too far. The Shadow Realm means that Out West now has to fight under the tower. Slump Dragon has to be on the tower as well. Out West going to survive the engagement now as the hook comes out perfectly timed with the ending of the Shadow Realm. Down fall the skies, and a shutdown into the hands of Gangplank may just be all they need. The chase still going. Abyss flashes forward immediately to turn around. Referee, he still has a hook on hand though. The Anivia wall comes up, denying the Nautilus hook. He may just be able to turn around. No flash left on hand as Wukong comes through the Cyclone out of nowhere. Now looking towards that Ezreal, who's just sneaking around in the top side, and maybe it's a good idea to break away from this one.
Yeah, I mean, take what you can get, right? Slump Dragon falling mainly due to his jungler's engage that he just was not ready for. I like that Out West pulled the trigger, but really, this is what I was talking about earlier. If you do overstep, no one can join you, and turns out that the GP falls, so not only is that a shutdown, but Draven also gets his passive. Plenty of gold onto Worgen. He hasn't bought yet, though. So if Revolt do go for a fight, this Draven isn't nearly as strong as he could be just off that play. They want to keep pressuring to kind of deny Worgen's ability to try and get back and shop. You can see him channeling his base now. If they can cancel it, it's good. If they can't cancel it, however, this siege may be cut short just due to an overstep coming out from Out West.
And look at that third item, IE, finally purchased, and Draven's damage is about to become a whole lot scarier. Not a single mythic on hand yet, and he acts like he doesn't even need it. So, we need to take a look at the state of the game right now. 1 minute left to go until the finishing of Soul Point and getting Dragon Soul for the side of Revolt Wyverns, and Jade Dragons may want to be in a position to deny this, but as the game is going right now, they probably won't even be able to.
Yeah, it'll be hard. You'll have to look for vision somehow, some way. It's really awful that Jade Dragons do lack some sort of ability to outrange their opponents. It means that gaining vision is hard. Once you are caught by either the Vi or the GP, whatever it is, you're kind of forced to then either just trade a whole bunch of damage and be out of the contest of the objective anyway, or try and flip the fight. But you can't flip a fight if your carries aren't there. We can see Worgen forced to be on this mid wave that was pushed instantly by the Anivia. It means that Wukong's again just stuck by himself trying to gain vision through his team. They're going to turn straight back to Baron, and again, it's just hard. They see that they want to try and trade the Cloud Soul, but with 10 seconds to go on this Baron burning, I think Revolt may be able to make their way down.
especially with Juko now hanging out in the mid lane. We do still see Slump Dragon in the top lane, doesn't have teleport. He's going to keep on pushing, and no one to match the two members of Revolt Wyverns down in the mid lane, as the rest of the team is actively pinging to go and attack this base right now. The Dragon getting slain, one inhibitor going down, and the rest looking towards that top side, and Nivea wanting to get these inhibitors, these Nexus turrets, as everyone desperately backing. A worthy trade? I wouldn't say so.
Yeah, no, and also the Baron base lacking for the side of Jade Dragons means that they actually can't find the resets instantly. So they're going to lose 2 inhibitors, potentially even more. Aurelion Sol decides to catch a bot wave that was pretty irrelevant when after they took the Dragon, means he was late to the play. So the Nexus turret also falls. It could have just been 2 inhibs, but they lose just that slightly bit more. I mean, Draven copying a heck of a bunch of damage. We'll regen it off Bloodthirster, but this siege can just keep going forever. I mean, Revolt don't have to do anything unique, anything creative. Just be sure and be decisive.
Okay, it looks like a Cyclone's going to start it off, and all it does is lead to an early death for the Wukong. Referee now walking up too far is going to be the next victim as they look towards in the abyss. No stun going down, but that Nexus is wide open. Lightless gets the hook, stuck inside the Shadow Realm with Hemophiliac. A pick may just go down, but guess who else goes down? Jade Dragons getting knocked out by Revolt Wyverns.
Yeah, they are done. So Jade Dragons, like you mentioned, I feel like we didn't mention more often during that game that that's it, right? I mean, I'm really glad you brought it up because that was an elimination game. It didn't really feel like it. I don't know why, but anyway, now with the context of that, we can kind of feel the gravity of the situation. Not even just for Jade Dragons, who unfortunately their time at this MCOM LETG tournament ends, but also for Revolt, who now come in a terrific form against Balhai, who are an incredible opponent. I mean, Balhai have proven everyone wrong. Everyone doubted the Gogi Euro team as they all came in. Not even just them, but multiple teams from their org. They've proven everyone wrong. And even in a tiebreaker situation, they're still very prevalent to take home the title. So it's not going to be easy for Revolt, but coming off a win like that, with champions that they don't usually play, the only person I see on comfort is the Gangplank on Slump Dragon, something for Balhai to consider in the drafting phase. Revolt with a really clean game so far. I think Jade Dragons definitely went toe for toe in the early game, but certain fights where they were just lacking damage and the ability to not go on the same target, and Daenerys' over-aggression in terms of his tempo and not actually understanding what his champion needed to do that game for his laners, meant that Revolt were able to snowball, and once GP and Anivia get ahead, I mean, it's really hard to come back from that. So credit to them for playing it out, but really that game felt inevitable from about like minute 15, 20.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, seeing Pretentious kind of not instantly lose lane against Worgen, and Worgen, though he managed to get one or two kills up, he wasn't able to push that lead as much as he would have liked. And he ended up finishing the game 4-2. 2 of those kills picked up in the first 10-ish minutes of the game, and then after that, couldn't find anything else. Hemophiliac, though, in the top lane, going down to Slump Dragon twice in a row by a solo bolo was really unfortunate, because I think that Gangplank, even though he only finished 5-3, had almost the most damage in the game and surmounted anyone else on the other team's damage, just because those barrels are so dangerous. And with First Strike to back that up, had 4 items, almost moving on to his 5th, really just shows how, again, a fed Gangplank on a Gangplank one trick really turns into a whole nother issue if you don't look at it as carefully as we got to see both of the teams do so.
Yeah, I mean, he just looked really proficient. He looked comfortable. He looked like he understood what his job was. It makes sense coming out from someone with comfort. Understood the pressure he was under as well. I think there were multiple points that he knew that he was going to be targeted by the enemy jungler and made sure to adjust his laning phase accordingly. So good to know that he has that knowledge, because he's coming up and against an opponent that by no means is someone that you can underestimate in Puppey. I mean, this guy is someone who's often topped the tier list as Razy's been putting him out, you know, week to week. He's been up there. I actually haven't seen him. I'm sure I've seen him play. I've been casting most leagues anyway with you, but I don't remember him that like vividly in my mind, but I do remember that he's been on those tier lists for a reason, and people do consider him a really strong laner. So really excited to see him come up against someone with such momentum coming from our game 1 of this series. But they've got to completely adjust. I mean, the only thing I want to consider before we get into draft quicksand is that Balhai have had so much time to prep, right? They've had all of that time to watch their game. Right, so they're watching what they just did. They would have had plenty of time to talk about draft, what they want to ban, things like that. And I feel like if you're Revolt, you kind of need to focus on your game 1. Because if you don't focus on beating Jade Dragons over anything else, then if you don't beat them and if you don't draft prep properly, then you're not even going to get to this game. So I wonder how quickly they're able to sort of consider their options and get into this game and ready to go. I mean, you know, Balhai have been lovely and giving them 5 minutes to sort of draft prep, which makes sense. So maybe they'll have some time, certainly not to the advantage that Balhai have going into this series. However, the one thing that they may have going against them is that their fingers are cold. Because, you know, Revolt have been absolutely slamming their keyboards, going crazy in that huge win over JADE Dragons, where Balhai have kind of had to sit there. So a bit of a pros and cons in terms of how this tiebreaker night is turning out. Regardless, we've got one game to go, all to play for, to join, you know, those sacred teams going into the playoffs. I mean, only one team can make it. Will it be Balhai? Will it be Revolt? Don't make me do a prediction, Quicksand, because this could really go either way.
Well, we'll stick around if you want to hear Casual's prediction or you want to know where to drop your points. For now, I still have a beautiful steak sitting in front of me. And I'm sure some of you at least have a cup of tea or something waiting in the meantime. Casual, instead, may not be having any food, but he certainly will cook. So be ready for his prediction on the other side. For now, we'll jump to a quick breather while we prepare the next game. So we'll see you guys on the other side.
Cool. See you very soon.